Senator, how are you today?
I'm doing good. It's cold, wet, damp, and the weather's bad, too, up here in Washington.
How's your golf game?
It's about like the weather.
I know the feeling.
I got a bad case of the bull hook.
Oh, man. Yeah, you can talk to a slice, but there's no point in even speaking to a hook, is there?
I know. Yeah, it's just a wasted effort.
Well, the battle continues. I know that you guys are, I guess the vote is scheduled for tomorrow now on Senate Joint Resolution 36, the ambush bill to overturn what this administration has done to try and push through quickie unionization elections. Is that right? Tomorrow's going to be the vote?
That's right. And remember the card check legislation. Basically, they were going to repeal the secret ballot to form a union. Mm-hmm. Legislatively, and that went nowhere. So the NLRB administratively is trying to do a mini version of it, and we're trying to stop them.
The legislation is pretty bizarre in that the administration keeps claiming that this will speed up union certification elections under this bill, and this is scheduled to take effect the end of this month? Is that right, Senator?
Right. Well, you got to remember, the same people who are telling you that are the same people who are abolishing a secret ballot to form a union.
Yeah, that's
so you know where their agenda is at. So this is just a backdoor way to accomplish the same purpose of making union elections better for unions and, worse for workers.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, they say that this will expedite the process, bringing about union elections in as little as 7 to 10 days, and yet. Under the old rules, which have worked pretty good since they were placed into effect way back when, using the NLRB's own data, it only took about 38 days to wrap up a unionization election under the old rule.
Well, this is not about a rule. This is about political payback.
Yeah.
The reason that we need to beat President Obama, there's a long list of reasons, but one of the big reasons is that the people that the president appoints to the NLRB and to the courts are affected by the election. If President Romney is in office, there's going to be a wholesale change at the NLRB.
You bet.
And the judges will be different. So the people that the president appoints to run the government is very much a prize to be won by the person who gets elected president. And you can see the NLRB is just basically lost all neutrality. What they tried to do with Boeing to shut down the plant in South Carolina just created a lot of political backlash. So I hope people understand that it's just not the president that runs the government, it's the people he appoints, and in this case, the most radical people in the country. Is
this, Senator Graham, essentially another page from the same hymnal of, we saw what happened with cap and trade, the global warming legislation. There was so much labor expended by the administration in pushing through over the wishes of the American people Obamacare that they had to give up on cap and trade, and yet now the EPA, through regulatory power, is trying to implement many of the things that were in cap and trade. Is this the same deal all over again?
Absolutely. The carbon rules, carbon emission rules, are going to be very draconian for coal-fired plants and heavy manufacturers. It's going to create a real spike in energy prices at a time when we can't afford it, and it doesn't have any carrots at all for business. So it's going to be a regulatory nightmare for coal-producing companies and for heavy manufacturers. You got the Department of Labor basically changing the visa, how you bring in workers to the country to drive up the cost of bringing in workers when you can't find an American worker. So let me tell you, this administration is peppered all through the administration with the most liberal activist people from unions and, labor lawyers that you'll ever find.
Let's turn the page for a moment, Senator Graham, and talk about the latest Social Security and Medicare trustees report. I guess we shouldn't be surprised because with the push to continue the reduction in the payroll tax, the cuts that happened there, we've underfunded the program by almost $100 billion.
Right.
So this is obviously going to be very disturbing to many seniors.
Well, the problem with the Social Security Medicare trust funds is that you don't have enough workers paying taxes to take care of the large number of baby boomers that retire. 10,000 a day are going into Social Security Medicare eligibility. On top of that, you take the payroll tax cut, which is money going into the trust fund. You give it back to people, to the taxpayer, shorting the trust fund.
Mm-hmm.
You're compounding an already serious problem. When I was born in 1955, Bob, there were 16 workers for every retiree in Social Security. Today, there's 3 workers for every Social Security retiree. In 20 years, it'll be 2. So on top of all of that, we've taken payroll tax cuts out of the trust fund back to the taxpayer, shorting the trust fund. It's just a complete mess. And I heard your lead-in about Medicare Advantage.
Yes.
I hope people understand how important what you described is. You really, I haven't heard anybody describe it better about what's coming in October.
Yeah, a ticking time bomb is the word that I use, and I think it certainly is. As far as the GSA scandal, are many people in Washington sort of just nodding their heads sagely and saying, well, I've been telling you so?
Yeah, I think that, the Tea Party folks and people who've been complaining about the size and scope of the government are probably not surprised at all.
Mm-hmm.
I doubt if many Americans are surprised. It's sort of an out-of-control system up here, and, presidents do matter. The EPA is in the hands of the most radical environmental folks in the country. Look at the Keystone Pipeline.
Right.
Now, why in the world are we not building a pipeline from Canada down to the Gulf?
Yeah, there's no rational reason. There's no rational reason to not do that.
There is no rational reason. It's an environmental agenda that really has lost rationality. When you look at the Labor Department, the rules they're passing on employers, when you look at the NLRB, we've got a government really in the hands of the most liberal people in the country. And what are they doing to Medicare Advantage? Medicare Advantage was one of the good things that came from Medicare Part D. Remember when we expanded Medicare to include prescription drugs?
Yep.
Medicare Part D?
Yep. Yes, I do.
Okay, well, I voted against it because I'm very afraid if you expand benefits, it gets out of control at a time you can't afford the benefits you've already promised.
Yeah, it's another unfunded mandate.
But one of the positive things was to create Medicare Advantage so seniors could have an option for traditional Medicare where they could get more coverage and actually pay for things themselves not covered by Medicare. Well, Democrats hate that. They've been trying to kill it. And the one thing that you got to remember about the Obama health care bill, remember getting that 60th vote? You had the Cornhusker kickback and the Louisiana Purchase?
Yep.
Remember that?
I certainly do.
Well, one thing that they did for Florida is they exempted Florida seniors from the enrollment problem this October. Very few people know that.
Yeah, how convenient.
How convenient.
Well, it's pretty sad. As far as the NLRB, I saw that a lawsuit has been filed because, of course, we discussed this previously.
The recess appointments.
The recess appointments and the recess appointment of the guy that has been named to head the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau as well.
Exactly. Now, that bureau, the Financial Protection Bureau has no oversight by Congress. It's under the Federal Reserve.
Yep.
So there's no congressional oversight. There's no congressional review of the budget. And it can regulate everything from a simple mortgage to just every transaction in the economy. And you've got this person with a tremendous amount of power shielded from oversight. That's why I voted against it. But, boy, I tell you, if Romney gets to be president, his first 6 months ought to be rolling back all of this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. He has said, of course, despite the creation of Romneycare when he was governor of Massachusetts, that he promises to sign an executive order on day one in office overturning Obamacare. Would that be sufficient to do it, Senator Graham?
I think what you could do, yes. I think at the executive level, you could start telling your agency heads, don't implement this, and the law would die on its own, basically. Without an executive branch pursuing implementation, I think it does die over time. And here's the theme of this conversation that we're having today.
Right.
The 2010 election stopped their agenda.
Yep.
So they're having to resort to executive orders and administrative agency implementation of rules to achieve the same result.
Yeah, they're having to do through regulatory fashion and executive orders what they can't do legislatively because the House and the Senate won't pass it.
You got it, and that is it keeps you on your toes up here because the power of the president is pretty enormous. And when people remember about, well, I may not like Romney because of this or that, it's not just about Romney. It's about the people that he will put in charge of the government. And I can assure you, he's going to put different people in charge of these agencies and will pick different judges. That alone is enough for me to vote for Romney.
Yeah, somebody sent me a copy of a bumper sticker the other day, and it said, so I should be more concerned about Mitt Romney's money than I am with what Obama's doing with mine.
Very, very well said. But this Medicare Advantage, this effort to destroy this program to stop competition from emerging in Medicare,
right,
is very damaging to our efforts to save Medicare. Medicare and Social Security are trillions of dollars underfunded.
Yep.
Because I've got a bill with Rand Paul from Kentucky and Mike Lee from Utah to basically allow every senior citizen to be enrolled in Congress's health care plan. In other words, we would take every senior citizen and put them in the same plan that members of Congress and our staffs have. It would save $1 trillion over 10 years because you got 240 plans to choose from.
Right.
It would be cheaper for seniors. It would require federal government employees to pay slightly more a month. But that just shows you how competition is needed to save Medicare. Putting people in the same health care plan as a member of Congress would save $1 trillion in 10 years and lower costs for seniors just because of efficiency and competition.
Well, and it brings us back to the overarching tone of our discussions. They've been all about things that can be affected by the election in November and the necessity for making sure that we don't have Obama in the White House and his minions in all these agencies.
Well, it is. I mean, the federal government, we all agree it's too large, but the power that the agencies have over everyday business and family life is just mind-boggling. Look at the Department of Education. They're trying to allow the Department of Education to be the single bank for student loans in this country.
Right.
Can you imagine the Department of Education being the largest consumer bank in America? Do you think a bureaucrat at the Department of Education could care about default rates? They just want to make people happy.
Sure, and look at the way Obama's talking about using the interest rates on the student loans right now.
He's going across the country today.
Right, trying to buy votes.
He wants to replace the private sector's role in student loans. He wants it to be a federally funded, federally administered loan program run by bureaucrats at the Department of Education using taxpayer dollars with no private investment at all. That is a nightmare for the future of federal student loans. It's just going to blow a hole in the budget that's already got a hole in it.
Yeah, it's incredible. Unfortunately, with Harry Reid and the Democrats controlling the Senate, not much chance really of passage of this resolution tomorrow, do you think?
Politics and elections are a funny thing. they may be. I don't know. We'll see tomorrow. There may be a handful of Democrats up for re-election in 2012 that may get religion. Yeah, but they're going to push them really hard to hold the party line. So you're probably right. But if you ask me today, guess whether or not we'll be in the majority in 2013, I think it's 60-40 that we take the Senate back.
Well, that's certainly encouraging because the direction we're going, I think all the polling data shows, and certainly the people that I speak with agree, is not the direction that they have in mind for America. Senator Lindsey Graham.
Chairmanships matter up here in Washington.
Absolutely.
Instead of being the ranking member, I'd get to be the chairman on the committees I sit on, and totally different agenda. Absolutely. Senator Lindsey Graham. Senator, thanks for your time today. We appreciate it as always, and talk to you again soon. Yeah, I'll come in the studio. You take care.